Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Spooky Southcoast. Boy, it feels good to have the full program. Now that the Red Sox are done, it's over, and now we will have all of October to talk with you about the paranormal each and every Saturday night. Tim WEISBERG here, along with my co-hosts Stephanie Burke, science advisor Matt MONIZ, and the silent assassin Matt Costa. And we do have some great shows planned for you coming up in October. I'm trying to work out something for next week in preview of Ghost Stalkers, the new show that will debut on Destination America October 19th, that I've been the writer and the researcher for. It's produced by Nick Groff of Ghost Adventures, and it stars John Tenney and Chad Lindberg. You'll know Chad from The Fast and the Furious, from Supernatural, and of course John Tenney, he is just known as the weird guy. He's the guy who has been lecturing on the weird for 27 years now. So the two of them are actually investigating places where they feel there is portal activity and strong connections to the other side, because enough of these ghost shows have explained to us by now that ghosts are real, or at least in their theory, ghosts are real. But now we have to get to the bigger questions, which is why, how, and what does it mean? So that's why they're going to be investigating some of the locations that they're investigating, and those are the answers that they are seeking. So that debuts October 19th at 10 p.m. on Destination America. So hopefully we can have all the guys come on. We'll have John, we'll have Chad, Nick if we can work it out with his schedule, and Dave Roundtree, who is the technical advisor for the show. He's the guy who creates some of the cool new experiments that Chad and John will be trying out, including a device that can possibly detect portals. So that's a very interesting thing when you see it on the screen and see how it works. It's going to kind of change the game a bit in the paranormal realm. So that will debut October 19th. And then, of course, later on in October here on the program, we're going to have Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer, on October 11th. And we'll also have our annual Bridgewater Triangle edition of Spooky Southcoast, one of our most listened to, one of our most downloaded shows each and every year, the Bridgewater Triangle Investigation Show. And I'm working on getting us a special guest for that show. And if it all works out, this will probably, I think it's the first time he'll ever discuss these topics in public. So it'll be really interesting if we can get him. I don't want to give anything away until we get him to agree to come on the program. But if it works out, I'm really interested in finding out, because he was very influential in a lot of the Bridgewater Triangle hauntings. So stay tuned for all of those shows. But of course, tonight we are talking with our guest, James Van Praagh. He is a evidential spirit medium. He is one of the most recognized mediums in the world. And Stephanie, I know he's someone that you have always looked up to in terms of utilizing your gifts and abilities. And he's somebody that you have had the opportunity to see, and that people can now get the chance to see themselves if they want to see him, November 3rd. But you have to act quickly. And you can attest, Stephanie, to how the audiences react to seeing James and Maureen Hancock in person.
Right. I've seen Maureen a bunch of different times now over the past few years. And last year, I believe it was October, I am very good friends with Candace Dalton, who is Maureen Hancock's niece, who's a fabulous spirit medium herself. And last minute decision to just go to the show, and it was a quick phone call. Hey, do you want to come with me? And I said, sure, let's go. And I didn't know what to expect. I've seen James on TV for years upon years, read his books, and I have to say it's probably one of the most profound things I've seen. I mean, I tell everybody this, not just because he's on our radio show tonight, but the way that I was taught, I was brought up, I learned, was everything that I got to see on stage that night, and it completely blew my mind, blew me away. Most amazing experience. So if anybody has not bought a ticket, that's something that you definitely want to put on a list, a bucket list, anything. See James Van Praagh live. I'm so sad I have to miss it this year.
Yeah, you're going to be otherwise occupied.
I am going to be occupied, very occupied.
But
and I'm sad about it.
I don't know if you want to let James know why you're going to be.
Are you having a baby, Stephanie?
I am.
So,
I will
that's what I felt.
Yes, I will be in the hospital, so I won't
Good
be able
girl.
to come.
Well, if you have to miss it, that's the best reason.
I know.
We'll be thinking of you, Stephanie.
Thanks.
Well, the show is happening on November 3rd at the Whitman-Hanson Regional High School. Again, the only tickets left are for the mezzanine and the balcony. It is general admission seating there, so you want to make sure that you arrive early. When you do purchase your tickets, they are $59, which is a bargain.
Yes.
To be able to see James and Maureen in the same night. night. And James, I know that you do these Evening with Spirit shows. You'll be touring Canada. You're all over the country, all over the world with this. How does it work, though, when it's you and Maureen together as part of the same show?
Well, it's very interesting, Tim, because I don't work with a lot of mediums. I just don't, but I love to. And if I can, and we are able to jive together, it works really well. Personalities work well. We originally met on the Ricky Lake show, and the moment we saw each other backstage, it was like that feeling as if you knew somebody from before. It was a connection of, like, familiarity. And seriously, the moment we started meeting each other, just said, hello, love, and we started doing the Irish jig together. So that was right there. So when you're on that energy, you just want to work with it and be with it and share that time. And I really respect Maureen. I respect how she works, and she's a phenomenal, incredible medium. And she really works the crowd, and she has a great sense of humor, and put us together a sense of humor, and it's just like a stand-up comedy act. What happens is really, it's really just open to either I'm going to do the first part, or she'll do the first part, and then we'll also do what we call a double link, which means that there's one medium that will start making the link, making the contact, and then the other person, the other medium, will work on the contact that's already been established. So if I bring, let's say, a father named Fred, who died at 73 at emphysema, and I give all the details, then she jumps on that connection, if you will. So she's blending with my mind and the spirit contact, and she builds up the contact that way. She builds up the information, and you kind of go back and forth. It's like a dance. It's like a really wonderful dance. And there are some mediums that are very good at double links. Myself and Maureen are great. Myself and Tony Stockwell are great. And there are others that just can't really do it. They're just not used to working with another person because you have to be give and take, the whole thing. We worked together last year, like Stephanie was talking about, and I just loved it. We had a great time. We laughed. We cried. And that's how it's going to be this time. So many people want to see us again that I'm coming back into Boston to do that. And I'm also going to, by the way, I talked to Maureen today. She's very excited. And I asked her how many tickets left. She said, well, I think 200 tickets left, so they do got to buy them quickly if they're going to get in. But also just let people know if they want to see me, if they want to travel a little bit. I'll be in upstate New York at some different events. I'm also doing an event with an incredible healer by the name of Deborah King. And she's amazing with energy. She takes blocks away, emotional blocks. She can tell the energy of her room. And she's really, really very good, very cool, so people can look at that. That's on my website, but I will be in the area, so if they can't get to see myself and Maureen, if it's sold out, please go to another area.
And, of course, if they want to experience more of your stories and more of your insights, they can check out the new book, which has already hit the shelves, as well as the Kindle edition as well.
Yeah, yes, it premiered as #1 on New Thought and Amazon, and it's right now doing really well. It's still very top. It's a big seller, and it's called Adventures of the Soul. And I had to write the book because, and the reviews are incredible. Amazon, people go to Amazon see it, great reviews. And all my writing, all my books are always very, very simple, as Stephanie can attest, because I believe that this information is really just, it's the information, it's a sense of, everybody knows this stuff deep down in their soul. They know about energy. They know about the spirit. They know about the spirit world. They know about a space, if it's haunted or not, or what it feels like. So it's information that people will glean, that will recognize. It's simply written because I believe you can't talk down to people. You can't talk up to people. You just got to talk to people. And it's really, that is what the book is about. My deep, close friend, Debbie Ford, who is a life coach, and she worked with the shadow side of ourselves, the darker side of our personalities. She worked with for many, many years to heal that dark side of ourselves, the shadow side of ourselves. And I worked with her because when she was passing away, she passed away of a rare cancer, and she asked me if I'd help her pass over. And I did. I helped her pass over, and I helped her pass over mentally because I wasn't there physically. So I went into a meditation, and I saw her very clearly, and mentally sending thoughts back and forth. I said, Debbie, why don't you leave the body? What's going on? And she said, I have an 18-year-old son, James. I don't want to leave the body. An 18-year-old son. And I said, Debbie, he's going to be taken care of, and so if your mother's here, he'll be fine at school. And she said, it's so strange, death. She said, I've had to learn my whole life how to live, and now I have to learn how to die. And then she said, it's like having keys to a car, but I don't know how to drive. So I was able to get in that space with her in mental space, and I was able to bring through the names of people that passed over. They're waiting for her on the other side of the veil. And there was 2 people from Miami, these 2 guys, and then her father, and I was able to give this information, which was verified later on by her sister. And I said, they're waiting for you. Just breathe into it, just fly. You've done it many times before. Anyway, that lasted about a half hour, and then meditation was over. I went inside to watch television to my house and out of my office, and about an hour later, hour and a half later, this freezing cold breeze, freezing ice chill comes right up to me, and really tall and big, and I'm like, oh, it's Debbie. I'm like, oh my God, it's Debbie. I didn't see her, just felt that cold, freezing breeze, and all of a sudden the phone rings, and it's her sister, and she said, Debbie just passed. So, I mean, it was a trip, and I thought, you know what, I got to write a book, because if Debbie, who works with the light, a light worker, she doesn't know how to die, what about everyday people? What about them? So the book is really about your soul's journey and about why we come back, when we come back, where do we go. I cover a lot, so lessons that we come back to learn. I also talk a little bit about, you mentioned earlier about haunted spaces, and I know a lot of people who listen to your show want to know more about ghosts and haunted spaces, so I could address that too if you'd like.
Oh, absolutely. We were actually discussing that during the news break off the air.
I knew that. See, I'm psychic. I knew that. Well, do you have any questions about that I can answer?
Well, I mean, is there a difference? We all work as paranormal investigators as well. I wouldn't call myself one, but my co-host Matt MONIZ has been one for a long time. Stephanie conducts investigations, both using her abilities and not, also using the technology that's out there, and Matt Costa does as well. So one of the questions that I have.
So let me ask you this, Tim. Let me ask you guys this: what's the point of doing? What do they do paranormal investigation? Just curious. What is it behind that?
Well, for the most part, if you're somebody who is out there helping people who have a haunted home and have activity in their home, you're trying to help them get answers to see if it's something that might be legitimately paranormal or if there's just a rational explanation for it. But for people like ourselves, we're doing it more for our own answers and for our own explanation. For us, we've gone beyond, as I mentioned, talking about the new show Ghost Stalkers, we've gone beyond the if it's happening, and we're trying to get into the why it's happening.
Yes, very good. I think also, and I'm sure you know about this, the people that are listening, there's a great guy in Australia, and it's a great website. He's a lawyer for the afterlife, Victor Zamet, and it's called Evidence of the Afterlife. And he has on his website, and he sends out a weekly report about all the phenomena, psychic ability, about ghosts, about hauntings, about, really, it's a great site, great Victor Zamet, so people want to know about that. I believe, and I'm sure you guys, what we're working with is energy, so it's just energy. Mm-hmm. And I think that people have to be aware that our thoughts are things, I said earlier, so thoughts are things. And I believe that the spirit world is all around us. I don't think it's like there's a cloud and heaven's above us. No, heaven's around us. And it's just a matter of frequencies. So I think it's very much about the mindset. I could think of a couple of things with hauntings and with a little bit of activity. I think it's a bunch of different things. First of all, I think it might be, number one, the mindset. It could be the mindset of that spirit, of that person when they're passing out of the body. I think, number one, they might not realize that they're out of the body. And I have a friend of mine who's a ghost hunter, and they did the show Ghost Whisperer with her, Mary Winkowski. She's very, very good. And her and I don't necessarily agree on one thing. She said they always know when they're out of the body. And I'm like, I've had experiences where there's been some emotional thing happening, and they're out of the body, and they're, when you leave your body, you're outside of time. There's no time. There's no linear time. So in a way, you're just existing on mind and mental thought. So I think that there are pockets, no doubt about it, of spirits who, I don't know. When I did the Ghost Whisperer, there was a lot of research that went into it, and I walked around with Jennifer LaVue and worked with her and the other producers, sharing them, all these different types of experiences, paranormal experiences, ghost hunting. And I found that the energy that the spirit will use, the ghost, let's say a ghost could be a spirit who, number one, maybe there's unfinished business. Maybe there might be some situation where they don't want to leave right yet because, let's say a man passes away and he has life insurance, but the wife can't find the policy. He wants her to find that policy. He's not going to go to the light or go in that world when he's still concerned about the wellness of his family. Or a mother who has a baby and she dies in childbirth, and she doesn't want to go into that light. She thinks in her mind that she needs to be close to that baby, so she'll stay there. There are those beings, and I'm sure a lot of people that have done this investigation work will find that the energy that the ghost or the spirit work with is the fear energy. Because fear energy really stirs it up. And they need energy to manifest. They need energy to hold on to be around. So you will find some of the most haunted places, which I don't know if a lot of you guys have found in your investigations, you'll find the most haunted places are places of fear. So hospitals are very haunted, dentist offices, planes, airplanes, terminals, actual planes, and I've seen it. I've seen ghosts and planes. So it's at prisons. So it's a place that fear energy can be very, very palatable, if you will. And I also believe that there's such sometimes an emotional charge with certain spaces. Now in Boston, you were talking about Boston and Massachusetts, we've had a lot of war there, the revolution, and everything over there. And even Gettysburg, when those people leave that body, and maybe it's done through war or in horrible ways, sometimes it's kind of like they're in a shock, and they're in that in-between state that they're not fully aware yet that they're out of the body, or they're in the in-between state. Can I say that, the in-between state? Because I do believe, and I've sat through this many times with mediums from England. Leslie Flint was a very incredible physical medium, where the actual voice box would appear in the air and voices would come through. And I've actually sat with him when he was alive, and my mother came through, and a guide came through with the name and details, and I looked him up and found this guy. And they talk about rescue circles. So rescue circles would be those spirits, or ghosts, you want to call them that, where they might not realize they're out of the body, and they're kind of caught in between. So people would sit together in a circle and call them rescue circles, where they would mentally, as you sit together, you form a light. You just do. You actually form a light, like a beacon. And you would invite into that space those spirits, those ghosts, those people who may not realize they're passed over and may need to move on. And so you're helping to rescue them, to bring them to the other side. So remember, everything is what you think. It's your mindset. And it works really interestingly because, as I said earlier, I was going to be a psychologist. When I do my work, I'm very aware of the spirits that are coming through. And I'll be talking to someone, let's say in the audience, this has happened many times, and I'm bringing through a relative of hers. And at the corner of my eye, I'm aware that there's another person there. And in one case, it was a man, and he was folding his arms, and it was her father. And he said to me mentally, I'm not going to communicate with you. And I'm saying to him mentally, why not? And he said, I don't believe in this in life. Why would I do it after I die? Isn't it interesting? So that mindset kind of stays there with us.
That's incredible, because here it is, you always hear people say, when you're on the other side, all the answers come to you, but I guess you have to be willing to listen to them and to accept them.
Not necessarily, Tim, exactly. You just because someone dies out of the physical body or the physical dimension doesn't mean they have the answers to the universe. They just don't. You're the exact same mindset that you were here. So, for instance, someone's a born-again Christian or religious some way or whatever it was, Buddhist or whatever, when they pass out of the body and they think that's their heaven, that's what the heaven they'll have, because they've created that based upon their thoughts. And there are other beings who believe in Catholicism or Buddhism or whatever religion, Muslim, whatever it might be, and they will have that heaven that they've created, and there'll be other spirits there on that same level believing the same way. So in the Bible it says, my Father has a house with many mansions. And what I believe that to mean the various levels which exist spiritually. And I think we go to that level based upon our belief systems and our thoughts and desires. And I think on that level, you're with people at the exact same level. So for instance, in this earth level, I said earlier, you have nursery school, a postgraduate work, we're all different souls of all different evolution and non-evolution here. But when you get to the spirit side of life, you go to a level where all the people are the same, like attracts like. So there'll be always those spirits that are evolved higher than you, and then those that are lower, that are closer to the earth, to the astral world, or a bit lower, who are unevolved. That definitely exists.
I got a question then. How about animals?
Animals. Oh, don't we love the animals? I think, it's really interesting because I think that the human being gets so caught up with the conditioning and the limitations. And I think that humans, we like to figure everything out and have answers for everything. And I think that we as humans get caught up in the complexity of the simplicity. I think it has to be complex for us, and it's not. It's really just energy. It's either love or fear. And there's nothing in between. Life is a series of choices, and all choices are based upon either love or fear. And that's exactly it. So the animals, those lovely beings, I believe personally they're very evolved beings, and they've chosen to come back, whether it's in lifetimes with the same soul group or soul family, to assist us in loving ourselves. I mean, they're wonderful teachers of unconditional love, aren't they? I mean, you hit a dog and they come right back for petting. So it's wonderful ways to, I think they're very evolved beings.
We actually got a question, and of course, if anybody has any questions for our guest, James Van Praagh, there's the old-fashioned way. You can call in 508-996-0500.
I like the old-fashioned way, Tim. I'm very old-fashioned.
And also toll-free 877-996-1420. But just a reminder, we're asking James questions. We're not asking for readings. That's something that we'll do another time. But tonight, we're just going to find out more about James's thoughts and feelings on different aspects of spirit communication. And then also, if you would like to join in the conversation online, you can follow along with us on Twitter at SpookySC. You can tweet us using the hashtag SpookyLive, or you can check out the Twitter chat room on Spooky TV at SpookySouthcoast.com, which is where you can see the video of what's going on the program as well. But we did get a question via Twitter, and this comes from, let me make sure it comes from Ayla, and she wants to know what she should look for when choosing someone to help her develop her abilities.
Oh, great. Well, I have on my actual website, vanpraagh.com, I actually have a resource page, and it lists all the mediums which I support, and anything that they do, great. Teaching, great. That's fantastic. I really want to say you got to go really by recommendations, always. Even if it's a reading, even a paranormal investigator, you got to go by recommendation, of course, always. And I think that really, gosh, it's so different because it depends on the experience of the teacher. I mean, how many years have been teaching? How many years have been a medium? There's the Arthur Findlay College in England, which is a university. I swear to you, it is Hogwarts. Hogwarts was based on the Arthur Findlay College. So there's an actual Hogwarts. And in there are all mediums, and they're mediums working there 50, 60 years. So it depends on where you want to go and how deep you want to get involved with it. But definitely, I think churches are very good. Some spiritualist churches are great to learn from there. And so I think that's my recommendations.
Well, and of course, people could also learn more as well by going to your website, vanpraagh.com, and they can get Adventures of the Soul, the online course, the Enhancing Your Intuition online course. You have a number of different courses that people can take to learn how to hone these abilities and learn more about them.
Yeah, and I did that, Tim, because it really was as a result of questions and insights and interests that people had. They would ask me, please create a course about this, or can you do a meditation about that? So I created meditations and online courses on the website for people. And it's an ongoing process. You know, we're always growing, so we always take people's suggestions. I have a great Facebook page. I go on all day. I was on there all day today. And I answer questions. And if people have some, curious things they want to ask about it, I can go on my Facebook page. It's me with the black shirt, and I'm holding my hands like I'm praying. That's the Facebook page. James Van Praagh.
I have to say that I think I love you a little bit more now, only because of the Harry Potter reference, because I have a very small obsession myself, so...
Small?
Small.
It's so true, Harry Potter. Oh, it's so true, isn't it? Look at all the magic. There's so much magic there.
I love it, but I had a chance to go to Arthur Findlay a few years ago, and I had to turn it down, and I always wondered... what could it be like, or,
Stephanie, you got to go back. Stephanie, now baby, you got to go back. You got to go back because if someone's really serious about mediumship, it's one of the best places in the world to study. If they're not with me, they'll be. Arthur Findlay's great because they have really mediums from all over the world, and they have different courses each week. And I mean, they take it very, very seriously. They start work from 9 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, and they're very, very serious about their mediumship. So that's a great space. Also, England itself and Ireland's got very haunted places. I mean, I just came back from Edinburgh. Boy, it was like walking into a portal. Talk about portals. It was like walking into a portal. It was pretty amazing. Pockets of energy. I think Europe is great for that.
Well, you had mentioned a few moments ago about finding a place where there's been a lot of spiritualist study. And, of course, everybody knows Lilydale in New York, but the number 2 spiritualist camp behind Lilydale, back at the height of spiritualism, was a stone's throw from where we're broadcasting right now, and actually in our hometown of Onset, Massachusetts. Well, we're from Wareham, 3 of us anyway, but there's a village within Wareham called Onset, Massachusetts, that had one of the most predominant spiritualist camps back in the spiritualism era, and they actually still have what's called the Aniset wigwam, which was a wigwam, a Native American style wigwam that was built by the spiritualists as a way to kind of connect with those spirits that have come through for them from what was then 100 years or 200 years before for that era, for that generation. Do you find that a lot of the times when you go to these places there are physical buildings that are made with the idea of helping to connect better to the spirit?
First of all, wow, thanks for informing me of that because I didn't know that existed. So that's really interesting.
You can come anytime you want to come. We'll give you a tour.
Oh, thank you. Wow. Hey, and also I'm just going to jump in, too, about something else. For people to study who are really serious about the mediumship here in the U.S., I also am a faculty member of the Omega Institute, and that's in Rhinebeck, New York. And I'm actually going to be doing a course there in October, in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I think. And it's about soul connections. And it's all work really with the mediumship and energy. So that's on my website. But Omega Institute is another great foundation in northern New York, 2 hours out of New York City. And they teach everything from paranormal to having this week John of God, who's a physical medium. And they do all types of mediumship and paranormal work there. I find that, yes, in the day, of course, and of course I know Lilydale very well because I've been there and I've been there for many years. I've seen it and been around it. Sure, in the day, I think in the early 1900s and when spiritualism was at its height, I think there are places that are built just for that, just for contacting spirit and being part of it. Another place which I have a great little story to tell everybody is the Edgar Cayce Foundation in Virginia Beach, the ARE. And Edgar Cayce, for those who don't know Edgar Cayce, they really should because he's a sleeping prophet. And what happened was he was, I think, a very religious man. I think he was an Episcopal minister. I might be wrong, but I know he was very religious. And he'd go into trances. He'd fall asleep and go into a trance. And what he's known for is really leaving his body and going to what's called the Akashic Records in the spiritual realms and being able to find a remedy for that soul that he's working with. He'd come back in the body and he would give them a remedy by drinking so much of this type of oil or this whatever it was, the concoction. And people would do it and get better. And he would have a lady sitting there really transcribing whatever he was saying when he was in a deep trance. And people were healed. People were getting healings. So that was pretty amazing. And that was in the 30s and the 20s, 30s. People from all over the country would go there. Now, this is really funny. Talk about ghosts or spirits. And I was asked to do a benefit there many years ago, the Association of Research and Enlightenment in Virginia Beach. And because I love Edgar Cayce, I love his works, I said, I'm going to do that. I'll do a benefit for them. That's great. So I flew, several planes to get there from California. And I got there and I did a benefit. There were over 200, 300 people. It was packed. But the grandson never came, Hugh Cayce. He never really came to acknowledge that I was there or say thank you. And I thought, God, that's really strange. Why wouldn't he just come and say thank you for doing this for us? And I thought I was a little pissed off. Like, why didn't that happen? So I went back to my room that night, went to sleep. It was a Sunday night. I had to get very early because I had to catch a plane back, 2 planes back. And it was probably about 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm in that twilight state. A lot of us are in that twilight state in between the spirit side and the earthly side. And all of a sudden, I'm very aware that there's a man at the end of the bed, very strong, and big, long arms, and a white coat, and holding a white coat. And I'm like, oh, my God, who is that? And I go, are you Edgar Cayce? And he said, yes, I'm Edgar Cayce. I want to thank you for coming down to my foundation. Thank you very much, Dr. Van Praagh. And I said, Dr. Van Praagh? And he hands me this coat, and I'm like, something's happening really quickly. I said, Dr. Van Praagh? And he goes, yes, you've helped to heal many hearts.
Wow.
And I was like,
Really
oh, my God. And then he said, please, it was something, you have arthritis in your left knee. Please refer to writing 5883 for the remedy. I'm like, I'm like, freaking out. Okay, thank you, okay. And the people that drove me to the airport, they worked at ARE, and they said, oh, he shows up, and he said, we'll send you the list of remedies. And sure enough, when I got it, there was a remedy for arthritis in the knee. And I tried it, I'm fine.
Wow.
Great story, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah. We did have a question come in online. Eric wants to know, since we're talking about different ways that you can communicate with spirit, he wants to know, what are your thoughts on Ouija boards and if people should be using them?
Oh, great. Yeah, Ouija boards, Ouija boards have a bad rap. It's like Scorpios, bad rap, Scorpios, poor Scorpios. Scorpios people think are overly sex. Not true. Scorpios think about sex because Scorpio is a reproductive area, but Taurus are the ones that actually do the sex. So gotten a bad rap, and I think it's just ignorance. Again, here we go. So I think that these are just the Ouija board, crystal balls, psychometry, a pendulum, tarot cards, pendulum, dowsing rods. I think these are all ways of just tuning into source, tuning into the energy, tuning into that knowingness, if you will. So I think it's just a tool to use to tune into that, if you will. And I think it's a wonderful way to contact spirit if you use it the right way. Like anything, you have to know how to use it the right way. You certainly wouldn't use a trimmer and not know how to turn it off or cut the wrong thing. So it's the same thing with the Ouija board. Ouija is a wonderful instrument if used correctly. Anytime anybody, and we go back to the mindset of things, anytime anybody wants to work, and whether it's a paranormal investigator, whether it's a psychic, whether it's a medium, whether it's a healer, anytime you want to work into those realms, you've got to do it with respect and responsibility. So when you're going to do Ouija board and use that, it's fine as long as you do it with the right mindset. So you do it with an element of love and healing and humility and bring up the energy, bring up the highest point possible of healing. You're fine. Remember, it's always a mindset. It's the energy of the mindset. And like attracts like. So if you're going to sit around and get drunk and do whatever, and then you try to use it as a game and play around, not good, because, hey, I mean, it's not a toy. It's a tool. Just like you wouldn't drive a car drunk. I mean, you wouldn't do that. It's the same thing with any type of work you do. Even, as you know, the paranormal investigators, your mind has to be in the right space. Because if you're not secure, and if you're not properly grounded, and there's a spirit who's there who wants to screw with you, and you're not well grounded, they're going to be able to do that. And they'll get in your head and so forth. So it's all about the mindset.
Well, one of the problems that people have when they use these is, they come back and say, yeah, I was using the Ouija board and a demon came through. Are there demons? Are there demons in your experience?
It's funny. I was once at a conference in San Francisco, and it was 2,000 people in an auditorium, and they were really serious. They were so serious. They kept on talking about, really, they were psychologists and medical doctors and very left brain. And oh, my God, I have to go out on stage and break that energy. It's just too serious. I'm like, oh, my God, we've got to lighten up. We've got to find the joy. So I was just waiting for somewhere to get in. And I remember they were so serious. And I got to the question point, and the lady said, one of the ladies said, can I ask you about curses? And I said, you mean like S this and, and like, the whole audience was like, they actually cursed on stage. And I knew what she was saying, but I was just goofing because I wanted to lighten up. But they were so serious that we cursed on stage. And you could feel the energy going from the front of the stage all the way to the back of the auditorium, like, and then I said, it's just a word. It's the energy you put behind it that gives it meaning. Mm-hmm. And they all love that. I go, oh, yes. Ooh, that's right. That's true, yes. They like the left brain part. So I think that demons and devils and pitchforks, I think that's mythology. Mm-hmm. I think man made that up. I think that's cultural. That's custom. I don't believe in that. The devil made me do it. And I think that's a really good crutch that people can have. But I don't think that's real. I mean, it can be real if you want it to be real. If you want to pass over out of the body in spirit realms, and you're in a place of fire and brimstone and hell and just like in South Park, you can have it. You can have anything you want, and that's what you materialize. Everything that our mind is set to. So if people think they're going to have that, they can have that if they want to, if they wish to. But it doesn't exist in life, in the spirit. It's not that way. Hell, really, to me, the earth is hell. This is hell. Living here is hell. That's hell. Because, there's a lot of ignorance in the world. There's a lot of people that want to kill people. There's a lot of violence. People don't tend to see the God in every single person. And that's, I think, why we come back here. I think we're down here to see God in every single person and understand the oneness, that we all have a connection. And I think we have to, if we don't get it, we have to come back and learn that connection, no matter what lessons that soul's going to go through to get to that. Might be a terrible lesson, difficult lesson, but you'll get to it eventually, that you'll realize and recognize the God self in each person. So I don't believe necessarily in those sorts of things.
Well, and you also answered the question posed by Amanda via Twitter about hell. So
I know, because I'm psychic. Hello, Tim.
Well, also she tweeted you too, but Matt, you had a question?
Yeah. What about alien?
Aliens love it. A good friend of mine is Shirley MacLaine, who was just with, Shirley MacLaine,
yes.
And she's very into, and I did a reading for her for her 80th birthday, and she is fabulous, and she's very, very, you asked me earlier, I think, Stephanie, who I looked up to the most. I got to say Shirley MacLaine, because she wrote the book Out on a Limb, and I read that back in the 80s, and that was right before I did my work, and I'll tell you, everything in that book, I felt, it resonated in my soul. I was like, I know that experience, and she's very much, and I agree with her. I think that we're all aliens. I think that we have to recognize that we are just one on this earth. The earth is just one space, one place, one school. I think when we look at it, we got to realize that the earth world is like a grain of sand on a beach. So look at that. Look at that. So just one grain of sand on that beach. Look at how big the beach can be. So I think that we have to realize there are other star systems out there, lots of star systems. I think that we have to realize that. I think humans are a little bit unevolved. I think that, and many times they'll come through and talk about that, and I've contacted alien beings, we call them aliens, star people, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I remember one experience I had in Sedona, and I brought people over there to see UFO ships because they're very prevalent there because they go in and out of portals there. And I remember I wanted people to see that, have an experience, and we couldn't see anything. We looked at the sky, didn't see a thing. And I'm thinking, my responsible self, like Capricorn self, like, oh my God, these people think they see something. They got to see something. What are we going to do? And I heard someone say from Spirit, meditate. To meditate, raise your vibration, raise your frequency. So we did that. We raised our frequency. We did the vibration change and meditation, and we all started seeing colors and lights flickering all over. And the closer we got, you could see there's some kind of machine, some kind of, definitely some ships of some kind, without a doubt. And I was really trippy. And I remember the guy that was helping said, they're here. I'm like, duh. And he said, can you get contact? Will you communicate? So I said, let me try. So I walked out to this field, and I opened myself up, opened my chakra points and energetic field. And it's almost like the elevator went up, and I heard very, very clearly. And not only did I hear it, but I sensed that this energy was really dumbing down the information. And it was like putting a 747 through the head of a needle. And I could tell it was so beyond us and this human comprehension. But I heard, we don't understand one thing. We are from the Pleiades. We don't understand one thing. You humans have the energy of love all around you, yet you don't use it. Why is that? And that was it. That was it. That's all they said. And I've been around very much in Brazil. You see them. Yeah, I think the more aware you are, the more aware you are of those other life around us. I mean, they're all around us. It's just if we can see them or not, we raise our consciousness. A friend of mine, Kathy Forte, who wrote a book called The Facets of God, it's just out now. She talks about being on ships and, being on the ship and describing the ships, the different types of ships, the different leagues that there are and so forth. So, yeah, I definitely believe in that. When I was doing a development circle, alien beings, we call them aliens, I guess, these beings would show up, these star beings would show up, and they look very differently than humanoids, very, very differently, but I could tell the level of love, call it that, was very, very different than I was used to on the human level. So I do believe in it, yeah.
Well,
are you still there, everyone?
No, we're still here.
Okay.
I
ponder, yes.
I was just thinking as you were saying that, though, like a lot of folks, myself included, we haven't really made up our mind of what aliens could be exactly. Are they beings from another planet? And you mentioned them being star beings. Is that a physical coming from another planet, or is that coming from some sort of cosmic consciousness? How do you view them?
No. I think it's very real. I think it's a different dimension. But I think they're all around us, but they're in different dimensions. I think that they shapeshift as well. I think that happens all the time. And I think that we humans are so stupid. We think we're the only ones around. How could we possibly be the only ones around?
We're not even the only ones on our own planet.
Exactly. We're the only ones on our own planet. It's like, hello. So, I mean, really, it's, I think, and I'm going to tell you this, the more evolved I become aware, as I said earlier, the more I know, the more I realize I don't know. But I'll tell you this, that the more you become open, whether it's through meditation, whether it's prayer, whether it's mindfulness, you do become aware of the life forms. Again, the paranormal investigators, that's one thing they're doing, investigating that. Let's go to higher frequencies. Let's go to really high frequencies and start investigating that. Portals of mountains and minerals and why certain star beings, let's call them star beings. I think there are many different types of star beings. And I think that many times they'll use the minerals of the earth. They'll commonly use that. I think they're watching us. I think they're watching us, making sure we don't kill ourselves. I do.
Well, one of the things that you mentioned earlier that popped in my, and it's something that happens with a lot of folks that have gifts, such as yourself. They might not be as well known and as well out there in the public eye as you are, but you can't just be a medium. You can't just offer up these abilities and be able to make these connections for people, because there's so much baggage, I guess is the word you could use, that comes with that. Because when you make these connections for somebody, you don't know how they're going to react. So you do have to be part psychologist. You do have to be part grief counselor. All of that comes into play with what you're doing.
You have to be, Tim. You have to be. And that's what I'm saying to you. You've got to do it for the right reason. You can't just do it to be a famous TV personality. That doesn't happen. I never went out to do this to be well-known on television. No way. I was chosen, I assume, from the spirit world to do that and get on television. I never went to television. I did to help people and be of service, and that's what we got to do. We got to be of service, and we got to realize, my God, it's such a humbling experience to me. I mean, I wouldn't want to tell someone the wrong information. Oh, my God. I mean, that'd be terrifying to give somebody wrong information and not be sure of the information and just guessing. It's like guessing. I mean, God, you really got to be careful. So, yeah, you have to be humbled. You got to be open to learning and open to realizing that you're still growing and learning every day. And we learn from each other. I'm learning from you. We learn from one another. No matter What life experiences? So I'm more well-known with television. It doesn't matter. I learn from my audiences because everybody is God in their own way, and they're going to teach my soul another aspect of something, a different perspective of something, and I think we have to be open to learning those things.
Right. I do think that a lot of times those who do give readings, they become kind of set in a certain way of what works, of what helps them make that connection, and it kind of limits them from being able to expand their horizons and to realize that, they always say, and Stephanie, we've talked about this before, it's kind of like, flexing a muscle and exercising a muscle, and that muscle is going to gain strength over time,
Right.
and as it changes strength, it's going to have different ways that you can utilize it.
Yeah.
It's really, really true. I mean, the best mediums in the world are the ones that have the most life experiences. And the reason why is because then the spirit spirit world can use all those various experiences of that medium. They can use the experience. Remember that when spirits come back and communicate, they communicate with memories that they created when they were on the earth level. And they're sending, or they're creating, if you will, or projecting those memories into the mind of the medium. Now, if someone comes to the mind of the medium and they want to talk about Paris, if that medium has no idea about Paris whatsoever, how are they able to bring that through? So the more open they are to learning the medium, having life experiences, world experiences, the better medium they're going to be. And the more work they do, the more practice they do, and the more of a humble heart. You've got to have a humble heart. If you don't have a humble heart and you don't do it the right way, and you guys know from paranormal investigation, when you walk into spaces, you want to make sure that you're connected and that your energy's clear, that you're clean. And, if you do this work, and you're opening yourself up as a medium, supposedly. It's like the Ouija board. We talked about that a little bit. If you're not founded correctly, if you're not grounded, have a proper foundation, and coming from the right space, they can, the lower entities, the lower energies, they'll fool around with you. They'll goof with you. They'll take advantage of that moment. I believe in that. I really, really believe in that. So what kind of light are you going to send out to the spiritual realms? Are you going to send out a light that's half-baked and not sure and fearful, or are you going to send one that's very positive, loving, and joyful? So you tell me which one the spirit will want to come back to.
Right, but I mean,
depending on their character.
We see sometimes, though, with, at least in terms of paranormal investigation, we see investigators who will go in with a very direct, very antagonistic attitude, and that will be their approach, and maybe they get a reaction out of that, and you'll see others who go and make a personal connection, a one-on-one connection. When MONIZ goes in and conducts an EVP session, he's not asking, how did you die? Do you realize that you're dead? He's asking, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? Trying to make a personal connection. And I think that's what's lost on a lot of people who don't have these abilities or utilize these gifts, is they lose that connection of that a spirit is just like, it's a person, just like us.
Exactly, Tim. I mean, the number one thing, what is the intention? What is the intention behind that? So if someone goes in as a paranormal investigator, they go in and they're mean and yelling, and they look at their spirit activity that way, why would they do that? Why would they want to upset and make that being angry? Let's say go on the lower levels, because I do believe, like I said, there are some beings that are not aware of the past over. There are some beings that just want to hang out to the human level. I believe there are some beings who are unevolved and they want to still hang out at bars and clubs, and they're waiting just to be attach themselves to somebody because they miss that physicality. I've seen it happen. So I mean, you got to be very, very careful with what your intentions are. And when they go in and want to get really forceful, it becomes more about them than helping and assisting. And we got to be of light. When we pass out of the body, we're going to be standing there with all the experiences we ever gave out to the world. We're going to look back and see the good things we did, the bad things we did. Ego, when you're going from ego, remember, ego is edging God out. EGO, edging God out. We are ego. Ego can be healthy, but also can be damaging. So you want to get EGO, get out of the ego, and come into the God self. And fear, F-E-A-R, false ego appearing real. That's what it is. Because love is God, God is love. That's who we are. So any type of investigation, it should always go with the God force, that God sense, that intention, and doing it to be of service to help people.
And we are talking with James Van Praagh. If anybody has any questions, 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. You can also join us on Twitter @SpookySC, or put up your question using the hashtag SpookyLive, which is our new way of communicating via chat. Instead of having a chat room, we communicate via Twitter, and that is located on Spooky TV at SpookySouthcoast.com. And James, you have so many different projects that are going on at any given time. You're involved in a lot of different things. What's probably the most exciting thing that's on your plate coming up?
Well, I mean, the book Adventures of the Soul, Journeys to the Physical and Spiritual Dimensions, are really great. That book I just did.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a deck of cards I just finished doing, which are out now. And it's called the Soul Lesson Cards. And these are really, really cool. What these are is Spirit gave me this information, was meditating. And I said, why don't we come back here? And they gave me 44 lessons, whether it's about patience, whether it's about love, whether it's about forgiveness, whether it's about gratitude, whatever it might be. And I worked a way where you can use these cards and understand what soul lesson you're learning at that particular moment, in that particular scenario. So that's a journey, soul journey lesson cards, and that's on Amazon too. Those are really exciting. And then I'm also working, which everybody listening to this should definitely become a subscriber, without a doubt, Gaiam TV. Gaiam TV is a subscription-based television, and it's also their website. And it's all about spirituality, it's transformation media, and I do a TV show called Spirit Talk, and I cover topics such as karma, astrology, trance mediumship, psychic phenomena, so forth, and that's Gaiam TV. So people can get a monthly subscription to that, and their programming is phenomenal. I mean, they have science and astrology, and Deepak Chopra's there, Marianne Williamson, everybody, Doreen Virtue. So it's a great space for people that are interested. Paranormal investigation, George Noory is there. So Gaiam TV, I'm doing that, and I'm really excited about that. I'm just about to start my second season with that, with Spirit Talk.
What's great about the Gaiam, I was going to say, what's great about that Gaiam TV is that they're giving you free reign to talk about the topics that you want to cover, where a lot of that, a network, even if you're on Sci-Fi Channel or one of these more fringe networks, they'd say, okay, that might be a little bit too out there for the audience, but with Gaiam, it seems like everything is on the table.
Tim, you're 100%. You're great, Tim. 100%. The reason I do it is because it's really funny, and this is the best way to work, I think, because I've done a lot of network shows, I've done all that. They, like you say, let me run free because they know that I know what I'm talking about. They know the topics. I know the topic. And really, they do let me run the show any way I want. So I decided to come out, and I'm a teacher. So I first come out, I pick a topic. So let's say it's going to be about religion. I'll come out and talk about religion from a spiritual perspective, or what my understanding is, go through a couple of exercises or meditation, and then I will do readings for the audience members and themed with that religion. And at the very end, I do a closing teaching. So it's like philosophy. And it really has, I think it's one of the top shows now. I think the second most well-known original show on Gaiam. They're really thrilled with it. The audiences love it. And they're getting something out of it, so it's really great.
And, of course, you will be here in Massachusetts coming up on November 3rd, an evening of Spirit with James Van Praagh. Are tickets available?
I thought after the show they'll be all gone.
They probably will be. I should actually log in before I let people know about it to see if it's possible, because there's very few left. As you had mentioned earlier, talking to Maureen, not very many left at all. Only in the mezzanine section, which are $59 tickets. What a great price to be able to see this show, and it is general admission, so you're going to want to get there early, and definitely get your tickets as soon as you hear this, because they will be sold out probably by the end of the night. But it's going to be happening November 3rd at the Whitman-Hanson Regional High School, 600 Franklin Street in Whitman, and it's going to just be a fantastic night of yourself and Maureen being able to help people make a connection to spirit.
And I'm also going to do, for that audience, I'm going to do what's called the blending exercise, where actually every single person in that audience will have an opportunity to blend their minds with spirit, and let the spirit come through, who's going to come through, and they're going to have that personal experience. So it's called blending exercise I'm going to do with them. It's definitely worth it. I remember the tickets went on sale. When they first went on sale, we sold over 300 tickets within 2 hours.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's going to be great. Maureen's great to work with. It's a fun time. And if anyone's ever seen mediumship, that's a great opportunity to see it.
We do have a call on the line. We only have about 2 minutes remaining in the program, so we'll try and get through this call quickly for somebody who is waiting to speak with you. Good evening. You're on Spooky Southcoast with James Van Praagh.
Hello?
Hi, do you have a question?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say what a treat this is, and thank you so much for being there, James.
Thank you for
calling.
Thank
you, sweetheart. Appreciate that.
And I just wanted to ask you about, I wanted to write a book about experience I had, many years ago. It started in '96, which involved signs and synchronicities, coincidences. And it was after I, for some reason, developed an emotional attachment to John Kennedy. But I've had much difficulty with it. And I've given it up many times, but it keeps gnawing at me, and I just don't know where to start, or if I should just give it up. Just give it up.
Okay, let me help you, sweetheart, right away. Number one, coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. There you go, coincidence. So I think that you, number one, want to center yourself and really get back to your own power. How do you do that? You do it through meditation. being more aware, go through meditation, being mindful. And actually, I have meditation tools on my website. I have actual meditations for people to open up and to ground themselves. I think it'd be much more effective if you centered yourself, you grounded yourself, and that way you're much more aware of what your soul wants, how your soul wants to express itself. So I think meditation.
Even though it happened so many years ago, it's still okay to write this book. It's still important.
Yeah, so you'll write it, but they'll write it with you. Spirit will work with you, and you can open yourself up to writing the book. But you'll get, you have to center yourself and ground yourself. Otherwise, you'll get in your own way.
Okay.
All
right.
Okay, honey.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the call. And that's the thing. I mean, if something keeps gnawing at you, James, and it's a sign that it's something that you have to do, right?
It's intuition, and your soul is speaking to you. You got to listen to it for sure, without a doubt. Without a doubt. What's the worst that could happen? Someone could say no. I mean, people say no every day. So you got to live your truth. You got to be honest with what you get, what you feel in life. You can tell. You can be your own barometer, your best barometer.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, James. It was a pleasure talking with you, and hopefully everybody can.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for coming.
And you have a fantastic night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. And everybody that's listening, get out there and get those last few final tickets if you would like to see James Van Praagh and Maureen Hancock November 3rd at the Whitman-Hanson Regional High School right here in Massachusetts, in Whitman, Mass. It's so easy to get to from the South Coast, and anybody listening in the Boston area, it's very easy to get to, and it's a chance to really have a special experience, a special night. And what a way to end Psychic September here on Spooky South Coast, to talk to James. And, you were telling us, Stephanie, that if we could get him on the show, we would just have a fantastic conversation with him, and I think that we did. I think we took that.
I think so.
We took that topic into a lot of different areas that I never thought about. And so, I'm going to have to listen back to this show and really digest a lot of that information, because it's changed my perspective on a lot of things.
Yep, I've heard him talk, I've heard him read, and even then, just sitting here listening and soaking it all in, I could listen to him forever. So anybody that hasn't gotten a ticket to that show, you definitely need one.
And if you would like to listen to the show, if you didn't get to hear it in its entirety or any program that we do, they're all available via iTunes or wherever podcasts are found. And you can also get the video from YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/SpookySouthCoast. All the information is right there up on SpookySouthCoast.com, including links to James Van Praagh's website, vanpraagh.com. You can also follow him on Twitter at James Van Praagh as well. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is actually the final episode of September, so starting next week, it'll be our holiday season. It'll be October, and we've got lots of great things planned for you. So you want to come back here next Saturday night at 10 o'clock. We'll be here every Saturday, 10 to midnight, throughout October for all your Halloween fun. Thank you all, and for Matt, for Stephanie, we want you all to stay spooktacular.
In sports, the South Coast turns to AM 1420 WBSN.